English 120. This week, we're going to continue to talk about active reading. We're also going to talk about the academic essay. You're going to read two essays. Both are in the Conscious Reader: Malcolm X, A Homemade Education, and Virginia Woolf, The Angel in the House. You'll have two assignments. You're going to have a discussion in our conversations and a journal that you'll need to write in our reflections. And you'll also complete your second section of Comp Class, Understanding Research. So this week, when you read the two essays that you need to for this class, I want to make sure that you are actively reading. So let's go through the active reading checklist. Before you read Malcolm X's essay, A Homemade Education, I'd like you to think about the title. So what's the title and what does it make you think about? Write it down on a piece of paper or in the actual text itself. Think about who wrote the text, Malcolm X. Do you know anything about the author before you read the biography? And then make sure you read the biography so you know who the person is who wrote this. That's very important. What genre is it? Sometimes the author's name can tell us something about what genre a text might be. And remember, genre means the type of text it is. Is it poetry? Is it fiction? Is it drama? Is it nonfiction? Then I want you to look up when it was published. In the Conscious Reader, many of the publication dates are found at the end of the book, under on a page, one of the last pages. Some, though, like in Stephen King's essays case, you can find in the actual essay. So that's done all before you even start reading the first word on the page. Then what I'd like you to do is do the following things while you are reading. When you're reading, make sure you're in a quiet place. Make sure you don't have distractions. If I were teaching this to you in a classroom, we would do it in class together, just to make sure you were making time to try to see what it was like to read in a quiet environment. The first thing I'd like you to do is to circle words that you aren't familiar with. And I'd like you to use a dictionary to look them up as you go. I'd also like you to mark words or passages that make you think about things you've already read. Maybe something Malcolm X writes about makes you think about a book you read once when you were in high school. Make note of that on the page. Write all over your page. You want to mark words or passages that bring to mind personal experiences. Maybe something Malcolm X is going through in this essay reminds you of something you've gone through or your uncle went through. Write it down and talk about what the experience was. Mark passages that you agree with or disagree with, and state why you agree or disagree with the passage. It's very important that you make clear notes, that you don't just say, I agree. You have to tell us why, because you'll be coming back to this later in the semester. You want to mark difficult passages. Maybe there's a section that you just don't understand what he's talking about. Mark it and come back to it after you've read. You want to mark passages you really like and note why you like the passages. Maybe something he said really struck a chord with you, that it was you really agree with what he was saying. Mark, I'd like you to be able to summarize at the end exactly what was said in the essay. That means just the facts. What's happened in the essay, not your opinions about what's happened in the essay. First, Malcolm X did this, then he did this, then he did this. While you're reading, you need to write questions in the margins. Maybe he's doing something in the essay that you don't understand. Ask Malcolm X the question on the page. Maybe you want to ask yourself a question while you're reading, or you want to ask society a question while you're reading. Please be sure to do so. And finally, if you see any literary elements, like a metaphor or a simile, be sure and mark them. Please do all of these things while you're reading. Then, go ahead and begin your first assignment, which is your reflections. You're going to make sure you actively read both essays before you begin this. So what I'd like you to do is you're going to write a journal entry answering the following questions. Remember, journal entries need to be at least 200 words, and you need to check your spelling and make sure you answer all of the questions. How is Malcolm X's quest for knowledge in a homemade education similar to Virginia Woolf's pursuit of her career as a writer in The Angel in the House? How are these essays different? What do you think is the main idea from each essay, and how can you relate to this main idea? After you do that, I'd like you to join the conversation. Listed under our week's content, there's a link to our discussion forum on Angel in the House. Please answer the following questions in your post and then respond to 3 of your peers' posts with answers that really take what they said further. Make sure you think about relating it back to the text or relating it to a larger cause like society. Don't just say, yeah, good job, I agree, because that's not going to broaden the conversation. So the things I'd like you to address are, what are the characteristics of the angel in the house found in Woolf's essay? And what does Woolf say why does Woolf say she had to kill the angel? What did she gain by killing the angel? Also, this essay was originally delivered as a speech to the Women's Service League in London in 1931. How have things changed for women in the last 81 years? Give specific examples from the text and or personal experience to support what you're saying. What professional challenges do women still face today? Your final assignment this week is to complete your second assignment in comp class, Understanding Research. Just a reminder, you only have until the end of the week to complete these assignments. If you do not complete it by the end of the week, you will not receive credit, and that's 30% of your grade. So don't forget to do comp class. All right, let's talk a little bit about the academic writing process. There's 3 phases really to the academic writing process. The first phase is generating ideas, then plan, draft, and develop your paper, then revise and edit. And this is a secular process. So you won't just write a paper and you're done in this class. You're going to learn how to write, revise, continue to find new ideas, and to really get yourself to write the best paper. Here's some ideas about pre-writing, which we're going to begin to use next week. The first stage in the writing process is to begin pre-writing and generate ideas. The first step always is to review the assignment, to understand what you need to accomplish with your writing, and then you want to choose a pre-writing technique to generate ideas for pre-writing techniques. One of these that you probably are all familiar with is called brainstorming. That's where you use free association to stimulate a chain of ideas, often to personalize a topic or break it down. You want to do this alone or do it with a group of friends. You start with the idea of like apple, and then think of the first word or idea that you associate with that, and then continue in a chain out. Another way is free writing. Now this is something that a lot of us also are familiar with. This is where you tap into your unconscious by writing continuously without lifting your pen or pencil from the page. You want to write for a specific amount of time, usually about 10 minutes. So how do you do it? You start by writing a sentence at the top of the page, then you write without stopping for at least 10 minutes. Don't censor yourself. Don't stop writing. Don't say, oh, that's stupid. Keep writing. You want to feel free to let your mind wander. And if you get stuck, ask some of these questions. What interests you about the topic? What do you care most about? What do you know about it that the next person doesn't? What have you read about this topic, observed, or heard about it? How might you feel about this topic if you were someone else? Repeat the process, looping back to expand a good idea if you wish. Next, we have another pre-writing method, and that's doodling or sketching. If you're someone that thinks visually, this is a really great way for you to do it. you might want to take out a piece of blank paper and try doodling or sketching your way to a paper topic. Begin with a key visual at the center or top of the page, and then add sketches or doodles as they occur to you to embellish, expand, define, or redirect your topic. So another way to do it is mapping. You can do it with Post-it notes, or you can do it with actual mind mapping software. And what you do is you start with a topic or idea in the center of the page, and then you use sticky notes or the cloud software to free associate ideas around that entire idea, and then can keep going out from each of those ideas. Finally, another way to pre-write and generate ideas is to ask reporters questions. You can ask who, what, where, when, why, and how. By asking these questions, you'll be able to generate more and more information about a topic. Once you've generated ideas, then it's time to discover material. To shape and support your ideas, you'll need evidence, facts, figures, reports, opinions, or examples. You find evidence through your own experience and knowledge, through your research. Don't worry, we're going to be talking a lot about this over the semester. And when you do research, you want to find materials that draw you to new approaches and to think critically about all of these sources. So, once you've generated ideas, it's time to plan, draft, and develop. When you plan, you identify your purpose and audience, you decide on a main point, you state a thesis, you organize ideas by grouping or outlining. You start and restart, then you draft your essay by starting and restarting and building paragraphs, by opening and concluding, and by creating coherence, making it flow from one thought to another. And then you go back and develop your draft by explaining and supporting everything you've said, by adding in definitions, examples, and details, by supplying evidence such as facts, statistics, expert testimony, and observations, and quotations from the text you're writing about. When you plan, draft, and develop your paper, you'll need to identify your purpose and audience and decide on your main point. Hopefully your pre-writing will have helped you discover a topic or an idea that you like to write about. If not, you want to go back and do some more pre-writing. Once you've found an idea, you want to test various ways of stating it, given your purpose, what you're writing, and your audience, who you're writing to. So an example is parking in the morning before class is annoying. This is a very common example at Napa Valley College, where if you have classes on campus, it's very hard to find a place to park right now. You could change this to campus parking is a big problem. That's a way to really focus your topic. Next, you want to arrange your ideas and material in a sensible order that will clarify your point. One way of doing this would be to create an outline or to analyze the main point by breaking it down into parts. For example, parking on campus is a problem for students because of the long lines, inefficient entrances, and poorly marked spaces. A thesis is the main point of your paper, and your slant are the reason why you are writing about this topic. If you don't discover a solid thesis while you're planning, don't worry. You'll have more time to perfect your thesis while you develop your draft. Okay, the next stage is to draft and develop. The next stage is to write the structure you've begun to develop and let your ideas emerge on the page. Don't be afraid to take risks at this stage. Drafting is where the magic of writing can happen. But also don't get discouraged if your writing isn't perfect in your first draft. It isn't meant to be. Writing takes many drafts, and if you're doing it otherwise, chances are you're not writing to your full potential. Develop. You're going to develop after you draft by weaving in explanations, definitions, examples, details, and evidence to make sure your ideas are clear and persuasive. So this is a very important section. This is how all academic essays are structured. While you draft, you want to consider this template or form for your essay. You'll always have an introduction where you introduce your topic and state your thesis. You'll also have body paragraphs where you develop subtopics to prove your thesis, where each body paragraph should clearly cover a subtopic and relate the subtopic back to your thesis. Each subtopic is supported with ample evidence. Then you'll have a conclusion. How have you proven your thesis? What has a reader gained by reading your paper? How does your paper relate to a larger purpose? All right, guys, that's an overview on the academic essay. But we'll be going over it again next week as we start our first writing assignment. Next week, we'll begin our assignment for the narrative essay, and you'll be reading an essay by Susan Sontag called Regarding the Pain of Others, and watching a clip from the movie Medium Cool. We'll have another discussion forum, a journal, and you'll be turning in your first essay. And you'll be completing comp class, defining your research strategy. All right, guys, you're off to a great start. Please come see me if you have any questions.